This is my second video on 4.1, the scenarios. So I'm going to give 4 scenarios, explain good practice, bad practice, the consequences of bad practice, and how to improve these bad practices. Okay, so the first scenario is an experiment looking into the effects of ice bath recovery sessions on young female gymnasts after training. Okay, so good practice of this experiment would be informed consent. So this would be informing the participants what would happen in the session, so saying that they will do a training session and then have to do an ice bath afterwards. Good practice would also be giving them the right to withdraw. This would be like if they were in an ice bath and they didn't feel comfortable or they felt really cold, they would be able to get out and stop the experiment. And also good practice would be no deception. So this would be like either not telling them they're going to be in an ice bath or not telling them how long they're going to be in the ice bath for. Okay, bad practice of this could be not asking for parental consent. Because these are young female gymnasts, they would need to have their parental consent to join in on this experiment. So not asking for parental consent is actually unethical and against the law. Also, bad practice would be not doing a health screening test, so testing if any of the young gymnasts have any medical conditions that will stop them from going in the ice bath. If this isn't checked, this could cause serious problems to their health. Bad practice will be health and safety, so not checking the bath is safe and secure. The young females are ready to get in the bath, ice bath, and are healthy enough to get in the bath, so quite like health screening tests. So the consequence of this could end up being sued by parents because of no parental consent, so they could sue. Fined by the law, so you could be fined for conducting this experiment with it being unsafe, and you could be loss of research credibility, so you could lose research credibility, which might affect you doing any experiments in the future, as people might not trust you as you didn't do a safe experiment here. Another consequence could be physical harm to the volunteers involved, as you could cause physical harm if they aren't healthy enough to get in the ice bath. Improvements to this scenario, to practice of the scenario, could be having a parental consent form so they can consent for the experiment. Another could be performing a risk assessment to check the health and safety, to check it's safe, and to avoid physical harm. And there could also be a health screening test to test the participants are healthy enough to join in on the experiment. Okay, so scenario 2 is research looking into the effects of using supplements, performance enhancing supplements, on the performance of young female gymnasts. Okay, so good practice of this would be a health screening test to test if they're healthy enough to be able to take these supplements that might cause any problems. It will also be parental consent, as they are young. You need to ask for their parents' consent to use these supplements in the experiment. You also need ethical clearance to make sure it's safe and ethical to use these supplements on young gymnasts. So if there's any problems with that. Bad practice could be deception. So either not telling them they'll be taking these supplements and what they will do, or telling them they'll do one thing when they'll in fact do another. So it would be both types of deception again, like the previous scenario. You'd also need scientific responsibility. If you didn't have scientific responsibility, so you didn't make sure they were taking the supplement safely or giving them too much supplement, so you just need to be scientifically responsible. But if you're not, this could cause problems. It's called actual health problems. You also need to be health and safety, make sure the supplements and stuff are safe to be taken, they're taking the safe amount, making sure it's not affecting them physically. Consequences could be jail time, because if you are giving these young females unapproved supplements, this could be this is very much against the law and could lead to jail time for you. You could be sued by the parents for giving them supplements they did not agree to, as they may not have signed the parental consent form. You could be sent on an ethical training course to be taught what is ethically right, as you would not know if you did this bad practice. Improvements could be having informed the participants what exactly the supplements are and what they will do to you. Check safety protocols to make sure you are scientifically responsible. and to also check the supplements, make sure they're safe. So this will be helpful for the health and safety, and that will improve your bad practices. The penultimate scenario is testing the effects of extreme weather on performance in young female gymnasts. So testing their performance in extreme hot weathers and extreme cold weathers. Okay, so good practice of this would be the right to withdraw. This is because if they felt uncomfortable or ill when they're performing in either extreme weathers, hot or cold, they would be able to sit out and stop if they did not feel comfortable performing in these conditions. Also, health screening is important, as you need to make sure they are healthy enough to perform in these extreme conditions. And equality, so that is an important one, to make sure the gymnasts are performing at the same level at the same amount of time in each stage, so there's not one person, you're making one person perform more and one person perform less. Keeping it equal. Bad practice is lack of privacy, so releasing the performance scores of revealing names of participants in the experiment. This may cause mental and social harm, as they would not like their results being shared. The same with data protection, so sharing the data collected along with names, this could affect them socially as well. And being responsible, so if you aren't responsible, say with like someone was struggling in heat, but you made them carry on, they were looking very ill in the cold, but you made them carry on, that would be bad practice and you'd be very unresponsible. Consequences could be being sued by the participants for lack of privacy and lack of data protection. It could be loss of BASIS accreditation, so you might not get as much ethical clearance and funding for your next experiments if you aren't responsible. And you could also be fined as well for not being responsible and not keeping data and breaking the Data Protection Act. Improvements of this could be just protecting the data and staying private with names, so using numbers instead of actual names, and making sure you're staying authoritative and in charge, so making sure participants are safe and safe when doing the experiment. The final scenario 4, is research looking into whether being rich or coming from a higher class background makes you a better young female British gymnast. So good practice of this would be privacy, obviously, making sure you keep people private, whether they are rich or not, because this could be very socially and mentally harmful if you were to release this data. Being professional, so being kind and nice about people's backgrounds of whether they're rich or not, making sure they feel comfortable doing the experiment and you're not making fun of them. And a health screening test, making sure they are healthy enough to take part in the performance, making sure they're healthy and physically healthy to participate. Bad practice would be equality. So if you weren't equal to both spectrums of the scale, so if you were nice to the rich people and harsher to the poor people because of their backgrounds, this would be bad practice. Data protection is also, if you were to release the data showing who was rich and who was poor, this would be bad practice and very illegal, as the Data Protection Act does not allow it for any data to be released. And lack of responsible research, so if you were misusing the participants are misusing the chance to look at whether rich makes you better, this would be bad practice and very unethical. Consequences could be sued by if you release their data. You could lose credibility for not being responsible in the research, and you could be put on the ethics training course to be taught what is ethically right and how to treat people, the participants during experiments. Improvements would be to be fair, so treat both types equal, so treat the rich people the same as the poor people. Protect the results, so protect what participants are rich and which participants are poor, making sure that protection is safe. And stay professional and responsible, making sure you treat everyone fair, your professional conduct, making sure you're being responsible, nice and fair with everyone.